Hello everyone, I am Shubha Hiremat, Assistant Professor of English, Government First Grade College, Dharwad. In this session, let us know the life and works of J. Krishnamurti, who is the author of The Function of Education. J. Krishnamurti, his full name is Jiddu Krishnamurti, is regarded globally as one of the greatest thinkers and religious teachers of all time. Friends, we already know that in India there are many philosophers and great thinkers. Jiddu Krishnamurti is one among them. From the time of his break with the Theosophical Society in 1929 until his death, he spoke throughout the world to large audiences and to individuals about the need for a radical change in mankind. Jiddu Krishnamurti was born on 11 May 1895 in Madanapalle, a small town in South India. In the state of Andhra Pradesh, he belonged to a family of Brahmins who spoke Telugu. He was the eighth child of Jiddu Narayanaya and Sanjeevamma, who had 11 children. His mother died when he was 10 years old, when his father worked in the revenue department of the English administration and was a member of Theosophical Society. In 1907, after retired from his job, his father became a clerk in the Theosophical Society in Adyar. During this time, Krishnamurti and his brother Nitya were tutored by the Theosophist Charles Leadbeater and Annie Besant. In 1910, in his room of Adyar, Krishnamurti went through a spiritual experience designed by Initiation of the Mystic Birth by Theosophist. Besant and others claimed that Krishnamurti was to be a world teacher whose coming the Theosophist had predicted. To prepare the world for this coming, a world organization called the Order of the Star in the East was formed. Theosophical Society inaugurated an organization that it had the purpose of preparing the coming of the next teacher that was identified as being Krishnamurti himself. So, he learned several subjects such as meditation, theosophy, and foreign languages. But in 1929, however, Krishnamurti renounced the role that he was expected to play. He dissolved the order with its huge following and returned all the money and property that had been donated for this work. From then, for nearly 60 years until his death, he traveled throughout the world, talking to large audiences and to individuals about the need for a radical change in mankind. He did not expound any philosophy or religion, rather declared that he did not want followers, that truth was a pathless land, and that his only concern was to set men psychologically free from all spiritual authority. Krishnamurti is regarded globally as one of the greatest thinkers and religious teachers of all time. explained with great precision the subtle workings of the human mind and pointed to the need for bringing to our daily life a deeply meditative and spiritual quality. From 1930 through 1944, he engaged in speaking tours and the issues of publications under the auspice of the Star Publishing Trust. Krishnamurti spoke in Europe, Latin America, England, Australia, and United States. When Krishnamurti was in India after World War II, many prominent personalities came to meet him, including the Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. He said, understanding of the one self only arises in relationship. In watching yourself in relationship with people, ideas and things, to trees, the earth and the world around you and within you. He belonged to no religious organization, nor did he subscribe to any school of political or ideological thought. On the contrary, Krishnamurti maintained that these are the very factors that divide human beings and bring about conflict and war. He reminded his listeners again and again that we are all human beings first, and not Hindus, Muslims, or Christians, that we are like the rest of humanity and are not different from one another. He asked that we tread lightly on this earth without destroying ourselves or the environment. He communicated to his listeners a deep sense of respect for nature. His teachings transcend man-made belief systems, nationalistic sentiment, and sectarianism. At the same time, they give new meaning and direction to mankind's search for truth. His teaching, besides being relevant to modern age, is timeless and universal. Krishnamurti spoke not as a guru but as a friend, and his talks and discussions are based on tradition-based knowledge, but on his own insights into the human mind and his vision of the sacred. So he always communicates a sense of freshness and directness, although the essence of his message remained unchanged over the years. When he addressed large audiences, people felt that Krishnamurti was talking to each of them personally, addressing his or her particular problem. In his private interviews, he was a compassionate teacher, listening attentively to the man or woman who came to him in sorrow and encouraging them to heal themselves through their own understanding. He traveled all over the world, giving private interviews and talks. And he made acquaintance of many different people, scientists, thinkers of different fields, like physicist David Bohm, Chopra, George Sudarshan, biologist Rupert Sheldrake, psychiatrist David Schoenberg, etc. Krishnamurti took on the challenge of modern scientists and psychologists and went with them step by step, discussed their theories and sometimes enabled them to discern the limitations of these theories. Krishnamurti had no permanent home and the minimum of personal possessions. Foundations in England, India and USA made themselves responsible for publishing his books and administering funds. Krishnamurti left a large body of literature in the form of public talks, writings, discussions with teachers and students, with scientists and religious figures, conversations with individuals, television and radio interviews and letters. Many of these have been published as books and audio and video recordings. For more information about Krishnamurti's life, we can find in the biographies written by Mary Lutyens and Papul Jaikar. His influence grew steadily, and each year a larger proportion of young people attended his talks. And scientists and psychologists are interested in his ideas of time, thought, and death. Students, here are some quotes of J. Krishnamurti. In oneself lies the whole world, and if you know how to look and learn, the door is there and the key is in your hand. Nobody on earth can give you either the key or the door to open, except yourself. And the quote, intelligence is the capacity to perceive the essential, the what is, and to awaken this capacity in oneself and in others is education. This is the definition of education given by Krishnamurti. The reality of truth is not to be bought, to be sold, to be repeated. It cannot be caught in books. It has to be found from moment to moment in the smile, in the tear, under the dead leaf, in the vagrant thought, in the fullness of love. There are many quotations of Krishnamurti which are inspiring and motivating, like that of Swami Vivekananda or Radhakrishnan and Aristotle. Like many other philosophers, his ideas are universal, and even as a student we can be motivated by them. The ending of sorrow is the beginning of wisdom. Knowledge is always within the shadow of ignorance. Meditation is freedom from thought and a movement in the ecstasy of truth. Meditation is explosion of intelligence. To ask the right question is far more important than to receive the answer. The solution of a problem lies in the understanding of the problem. The answer is not outside the problem, it is in the problem. And regarding the teaching and learning process, Krishnamurti beautifully quotes, real learning comes about when the competitive spirit has ceased. Teaching is not the mere imparting of knowledge, but the cultivation of an inquiring mind. With this, I'll conclude my lecture on Introduction to the author of The Function of Education, that is J. Krishnamurti. And in the next session, we are going to discuss the main ideas of the lesson, The Function of Education. Thank you.